Phil with Big Time Ideas. After all, you are entitled to Brad's opinion. Here's your host, Brad Allard.
Well, a very special show today. We have the superintendent of Joshua Schools, Corey Hickerson. I'm looking forward to this. It's the first of several shows I deal with Joshua JISD as we promote their programs, their district, their community, things like that. You know, a lot of people don't really realize it, but gosh, how many people in your school system have a Burleson street address, right? A bunch.
Absolutely, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so it's the show, I bet about a quarter of the potential listeners go to Joshua Schools. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of things that a lot of people don't know about. I mean, you drive down 74 and you're in Burleson almost halfway through what we used to consider to be Joshua. So, but anyway, that's another story. Anyway, we're going to talk about, issues that affect Joshua ISD, it may be individually or as all school districts. Like we're going to briefly talk about vouchers and such, but we're also going to talk about what Joshua ISD offers to a potential new citizen of the community, things of that nature, things that they're building on, things they've planned. I know you all passed a bond recently, so you got a lot of ideas, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and it is a lot of fun, a bond issue drive, isn't it? A bond election always is entertaining.
That was the hard part, per se, is just figuring out how to get the information out and getting it out to the public. But now it's the constant meetings, the construction meetings, the meeting with the cities, the permits, everything that gets involved with that whole process is a whole nother level.
Well, I had a couple of your school board members on during this drive, Watson and Lee, and which Lee, I looked at the pictures and I can't tell the difference, but neither can you, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I had a couple of citizens that were helping promote the bond. And like all bonds, there's a lot of pushback in some parts of the community, so I don't envy you. I've been through them before. The last time we went through a major bond issue was about 20 years ago that built Centennial High School. And I don't know of any potential new bond issues coming out or anything like that, but I know that when they do, I could just see what's happening with the city of Burleson. They put bonds out, and there was a lot of opinion shared, shall we say.
Absolutely. And you see that right now with some of our local school districts with their bonds. So
yeah, but we'll talk all about that. I want to talk about the sponsors briefly so they make all this possible. You may know a couple of these sponsors. Our Place Restaurant here in Burleson. Do you go to this one or do you go to the one in Cleburne?
Me personally, I go to the one in Burleson.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Good. Because that's the one my buddy Otto runs. His brother runs the one in Cleburne, and I've been there. Same great food and all that. Kind of a side note here, I was telling Kyle, I started teaching in 1988 in Burleson. I moved here in 91, and Joshua is not a place you would go to go dining or anything like that. Now they're starting to get some of that.
Yes. Small bits and pieces. We'll take it.
We started small bits and pieces. Old Town back in the day was just an appliance store, and they had a barbecue place, and that's about it. So. But anyway, back to our place. Otto's is paying for this, by the way. Also, Gina's Pizza, which is the best pizza in Burleson. And also, they got all these great events going on. Wednesday night karaoke, Sunday night live music, things of that nature. So go by and get you a pizza the next couple of days, guys. Do you some good. Also, Old Pro Roofing with my buddy John Williams, 817-734-2756. They go all over, including Joshua. So it's hometown folks, and we want to do business with hometown folks, absolutely, because they're the ones that pay the taxes, right? Mm-hmm. When my wife and I moved to Burleson, in part, we moved here because I wanted to be part of the community, and also I felt like this community was paying my salary. I wanted to be in a position to kind of give back and patronize these businesses and whatever else. I'm sure Joshua does the same in terms of promoting local businesses and things of that nature. So, Old Pro Roofing is a local outfit. So 817-734-2756. Get John to come check your roof out while the sun's still shining. You don't want to do that. Find out you need a new roof and it's raining. Also, my friend Jeff Kelly, who sells in Joshua, sells all over Johnson County at the Wethington Agency, 817-781-0546, or Jeff at jeffkellyrealty.com. He tells me, the last show he was on was about 2 months ago, but I see him a lot. And he tells me he's selling as much or more business in Joshua and Godly than he ever has before.
Yeah.
So y'all are growing pretty quick.
Growing, yeah.
And that's good and bad in a sense. I don't know if bad's the word I want to use, but it poses challenges, I'll put it that way, when you're growing that much. And we've been facing those challenges here in Burleson as well. I grew up in a town you may have heard of called Plano. And when I moved there, in the mid 70s, it was about the size Burleson was, and then about 6 years later, it's 100,000 people, and the schools were so overcrowded that you'd barely stir them with a stick.
Yeah, it is pretty wild.
Y'all not experiencing that level of growth yet, but you are growing.
Oh yeah, we're definitely growing, but not necessarily to that extent. We're seeing a steady rise of students every year. I anticipate that it's only going to increase as we've got some large developments that are soon to be breaking ground, or already have broke ground as far as the infrastructure goes, but soon to be breaking ground that are going to bring a lot of homes to our school district.
Oh, absolutely. That Chisholm Trail development is going to be a big one.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be that, I don't want to call it a trade school because it's more than that, but it's going to be a 5,000 student capacity for it's kind of like a mini version of TSTC.
Exactly.
And it's going to be, that's going to bring a lot of homes around
which
the area.
Which is pretty exciting for us because that hopefully we can, garner a good partnership with them and offer that opportunity for our kids.
Yeah. Well, so thank you, Jeff. You're going to be busy hopefully pretty soon. 817-781-0546. Also, my friend Tiffany Jane over at Local Life Magazine goes to people in Joshua, Burleson, southern part of Crowley, parts of Alvarado, and it goes to 30,000 homes. It goes to a lot of businesses. You can read it while you wait or something like that, but you should be getting it either today or tomorrow. I know she mails it on the last day of the previous month, so Local Life Magazine heading your way, so check out the ads, check out the stories. It's always a great thing. Also, my friend Al Warner over at Bass Printing and Consulting. He does promotional products, hats, cups, pins, shirts, you name it. You put your logo on it, he can do it. Contact him at Alric, it's ALRICK, at bassprinting.com, or at 817-616-8761. He's over in Burleson. He's right across the street from Old South, so he's another local guy. And we have some of the nonprofits, do we not? We're going to do those at the end. We have a couple of things, one of which you may be familiar with, the Burleson Opportunity Fund. Okay. As far as the bigger picture, I've been wanting to ask administrators this question. You can answer it as tactfully as you want, because I know it's a delicate subject, but the last legislature not only passed vouchers, but they also, shall we say, impose certain restrictions and demands upon the school districts. How is Joshua going to react to the fact that now, for the first time, this time next year, Joshua ISD is going to be dealing with some of these demands?
Well, great question. And, when you talk about vouchers and you talk about the opportunities for kids outside of your district, and, I don't foresee it impacting Joshua as much as it would Fort Worth ISD, just in the simple fact that we don't have as many charters or private schools within Joshua. Joshua would be in such a small area. We take pride in our school district, and we want to make sure that we offer a great product to our citizens and our community. And so I don't foresee it being a massive impact, but we are kind of watching to see what it truly is.
Well, in Burleson, we have a K through 8 private school, Holy Cross, and they're going to try to get to K through 12 very soon.
I saw that.
Yeah, my kids went to Holy Cross when they were that age, up until a certain point. Of course, now they're 33 and 30, so that's how long ago it was. And some of our Burleson residents go to the Nazarene school down the street from us, where we sit right now. I think it may affect BSD, and what really kind of bothers me personally about the vouchers is they're trying to show that this is an escape from non-performing schools or sub-performing schools, and I don't consider either your district or my district, sub-performing. Okay, I think they're pretty good districts. I know that when I first moved to Burleson in 91, and I've been teacher 3 years, Joshua really was not even on Burleson's radar. It was just something you drove through to get to the county seat.
Right.
All right. But over the years, particularly my last decade or so teaching in Joshua, ISD really, really picked up its game and had an excellent education. It still does. And so I always wondered what is being offered, other than maybe a more explicit faith content. Other than that, I don't really see a lot of reason going to a private school, because we offer so much more than we did before. Now, that's just me talking, and I feel like I can say that because I did teach at a private school for 3 years, and my concern is that voucher money even though it's structured to be for people under a certain income, if there's money left over, that base floor income rises, and it's going to be that fund that they put in for next year is going to be quadrupled by 2030.
Right.
And so I'm afraid you're going to be subsidizing families that really have the wherewithal already, and at the expense of public schools.
Absolutely, and I think that was a concern for all educators in this past legislative session. Now, they say it's not going to impact. They say it's a separate fund, but we all know how that goes. I mean, it's all taxpayer funded. So,
well, let's say we get a crunch financially in 2029, and something has to be cut. You can either cut public schools, which have some advocates, or you can cut the private school funding of your donors. And big money guys behind that program.
Right.
Who are you going to make mad? Well, we'll make the public teachers mad. They're all communists anyway, and that kind of thing. And so, I just have a real problem with it. I understand if you went to a terrible school in an inner city situation, but even that money won't change the situation because private school is very expensive, obviously.
Right.
And you may be covering maybe a third of it. That's just the beginning of the expense. All these fees and money for shirts and hats and fundraisers to get hit up on, yada, yada, yada. So I just wondered if y'all were concerned about it, or is like, we're going to go about our business and we'll see what happens.
I mean, that's kind of been our approach is continue doing what we do best. And our job is to educate our kids and make sure that we provide them opportunities to be successful. And that's opportunities through different pathways for CTE and many different extracurricular programs. So for us, it's like keep working, keep grinding, and keep delivering a good product.
Yeah, and I knew some of your teachers. I mean, I've been 9 years out of the system, but I knew some of your teachers, and it was just kind of funny for us at BHS. We're like, this place is crazy. This district is crazy. I want to go apply to Joshua. Joshua is like, oh, it's this wonderful place, that everybody's happy, and, teachers get paid a lot more and all this other stuff. I'm sure you being a long-term Joshua resident, know all the stories, but we always looked upon Joshua as, if they can do it, why are we not able to get it done? Some kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and now, I don't know if now we're offering a 4-day week, and so that's been a good component for our families and our staff.
I was going to ask you about that too, because I know several districts are going to that for several reasons. Some is expense, but a lot of it also has to do with time focused on the material, shall we say, that kind of thing. When you put through that, did you have a lot of pushback on people saying, well, what am I going to do for daycare for my fifth day rather?
We knew that was going to be an element going in, and we met with numerous school districts that had implemented a 4-day, and just kind of talking about what was the process as they went to ensuring that those families that had that pushback or were concerned about their kids, what did you offer those kids? And we really worked directly with our what we call our Club Excel program director, our after school program director, to ensure that we provided an opportunity for those families at a relatively low cost. And we do have sponsorships that are paid from community members that help pay for those kids or those families that are struggling. And so that we do offer a Monday daycare process for our students.
Well, how about that? See, that's one of the things private schools don't offer, do they? They don't think this even have need. They'll let the maid babysit. I don't know. But anyway, the 4-day work week, how have the teachers responded to it? Do they like it or they deal with it?
I think that the teachers, you definitely saw an impact on the morale. They're more energized, ready to kind of tackle that week, have more time as far as the planning process goes. And it's really been a good benefit for our staff and our students. When you talk about test scores, we, as a district, we rose. We all increased in almost every area across the board, and so
I was going to ask you: has it had an impact on your scores and your academics? And
absolutely,
just answer that.
Absolutely.
Are the teachers required to work that Monday?
No. So what we do right now is we'll basically, because we'll build in a teacher work day once a month,
right?
Like a professional development day, and so we'll have them come in. But those other 3 days or 3 Mondays off during that month, they have that to do whatever they need to do.
I know what they're doing.
Yeah, go get your your doctor's appointments, everything taken care of.
Well, that's I was thinking they were grading papers or they were making lesson plans,
right?
Because other than that, they'd be doing it on a Tuesday night or I always tried to avoid working on the weekends because I didn't want to be burned out. But I ended up, if I wanted to just keep my head above water with grading, lesson planning, communication with parents, I got into the habit where after church on Sunday, I just go over to the high school and work 3 hours.
Yep.
Because it's also the only 3 hours I could work uninterrupted, because people coming in and out, kids coming in and out. And my wife said, this is not tenable. And, people think, oh, teachers, you have banker's hours and you get summers off and all this other rot. And normally I averaged about 45 to 46 hours a week. That was a good week. And then if you're a coach, good heavens, in season, you're working 80, 85 hours a week easily.
Right.
So I think this Monday idea is something that other districts should take a look at. I know there's a financial benefit to it, because of the utilities and you don't have to run the buses and, whatever else. But I think if it was not proven to be academically useful, then you wouldn't be doing it.
Right.
So, and that's a real attraction to probably potential Joshua teachers. The thing about it is, earlier I was joking about when, I want to go to the promised land of Joshua and all this. The reason why a lot of us didn't, because we had commitment to our kids.
Right.
We lived in this community. But also, there wasn't a lot of openings either. That tells me something about the district. I mean, there's very few openings, because the teachers at Joshua tended to stay there. And there must be a reason why. So
you're right that we do. Our retention rate is pretty strong at Joshua ISD, and we're proud of that fact.
That's something to be proud of, because it tells you a lot. Because you hear about districts that need teachers all the time, but you're not leaking a bunch of teachers. Another draw for Burleson teachers was Mansfield, and they were growing all the time, right? And then a lot of our teachers lived in or near Mansfield, so we had a hard time with teacher retention because they pay better, they're closer to home, they got jobs, that kind of thing. So that was always an issue, and for us to retain teachers, we had to sell other aspects of the school, those morale building things. How do you, besides decent pay, how else do you keep your teachers? Why is the retention so high?
Well, I think it all boils down to relationships. What are you doing? What is, what of our campus leadership, what are they doing with their teachers? How are they connecting with them? How are they ensuring that, that they're taken care of, they feel supported, they feel valued? From the central office standpoint, I think that's the same. It's the same philosophy. It's like, what are we doing? Are we getting on the campuses? Are we being involved? Are we helping wherever we possibly can? And I think it's that team approach. We have to take that philosophy into the school district and to help our teachers wherever we can, take the burden off their shoulders.
And I think also the citizens of Joshua have a lot to do with it as well, because they're very supportive of the schools. For almost all my experiences with parents and other community people in Burleson, there were very positive experiences. And that was another reason why I was always reluctant to be looking at greener pastures, so to speak, because I didn't know if I'd get that kind of hometown support, if you would. And because you'd walk in to the Dairy Twin, which we still lament its passing, and then there'd be people I know behind the counter, there'd be people I know sitting in and having a hamburger or whatever, and and those kind of relationships you don't get often in a big city. And particularly when I first started teaching there, I go to the principal, say, I'm having trouble with little Johnny over here. So don't worry, I know his daddy. I'll give him a call. And little Johnny would straighten up like that. Those kind of connections you don't get everywhere.
Absolutely.
And even if Burleson's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, it still has a hometown feeling to it. A lot of people know a lot of people.
Well, and that's the same way in Joshua, and on a lot smaller scale, obviously. When you compare the size of the two school districts, I think that we pride ourselves on that family atmosphere and trying to, be there for each other, take care of each other. And I think, like you said, being able to connect with individuals within the community, with the parents, always helps.
But this is more than just a professional opportunity for you to be superintendent. You are from Joshua, right?
I am, absolutely.
You graduated when?
2004.
Right, and that was like my 15th year teaching, so it tells you how old I am.
Yeah, I might be one of the younger superintendents right in the state, but that's okay.
That's fine. Well, you need some energy because I'm sure you're good friends with Dr. Jimerson, and he's a high wire, high energy kind of guy. So and you need that because you're asked to wear 40 different hats at one time and that kind of thing. So what did you teach when you got out of college?
So I started my career in history. So I had a minor in college and moved in teaching history. I taught world geography
That's hard.
Yeah, world history and world geography my first year in. And so then obviously moved to school districts, and I got to move into the tested subject, you know, and that was presented as challenges at the time, but also, you know, U.S. history was more of where I fell in line with and kind of my love behind everything. And so,
were you a coach as well?
I was. Okay. I did. I started out as a coach. So when you talk about long hours, you know, I worked for one coach that believed in wait until every single student or every single athlete left the building and then had to meet as a staff, discuss, practice. So we weren't getting home until 9:30 at night during the week.
And you still had papers to grade.
Exactly.
You know, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I learned that lesson really quickly because when I got to the high school and I saw what the coaches are doing, I thought, you got to be crazy to do this, you know, to tell you the truth. But they do it because they love it, I guess. Yeah. But it really is a sacrifice and sacrifice on their family's part.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that I noticed that really quickly as well. But what you know, I taught my first year teaching. It was at the junior high teaching 7th grade Texas history. Now that's a challenge. All right, I had like 210 7th graders over 6 classes, and so it was jam packed and everything. And yeah, let's say that sometimes they were less attentive than others. And then I went to the 9th grade, did world history, and that was another challenge because you have 9th graders. And that, to me, the 9th grade seemed to be where the issues started to develop in kids. You know, when they're in the 7th grade, you could maybe head them off a little bit. By 9th grade, you start getting kids that are involved in some pretty serious stuff.
Yeah.
And then I got bumped to the high school, unusual set of circumstances. And I said, you know, this is what I want to teach. I want to be here. And that's why I really didn't go looking around very much. Because, you know, for a teacher to teach what they want to do to this type of students they want to teach it to, that didn't come along all the time. You know, not everybody could say that. Right. So you taught, and then you decided you want to get administration. You got your, I believe, you know, Kyle, this chicken over here, he won't get on the air with us. He sent me your bio. You got your master's from Tarleton, is that right?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
right.
So that was kind of in between deciding on what I wanted to do at the time. Did I wanted to get into teaching and coaching at that time, or was I wanting to pursue something outside of it? So I kind of lucked into the opportunity. Had the opportunity to be a graduate assistant down at Tarleton, and I was able to get my master's at the same time. So kind of worked out for me. I got my master's of business administration.
Oh. Well, then I believe you also got your superintendent certification through Lamar.
I did.
Was that online?
Yeah, both my principal and superintendent certification were through Lamar University.
Okay, I can't imagine going down to Beaumont. You know, it's a long drive. But so it's all online. And then I believe you also worked in the business office until this opening, and they by mutual acclaim became the superintendent. Apparently, you know.
Yeah, yes, sir. I was over student services for our district.
You know, that's the thing about it is, my guess is you're going to be, this is where you want to be, and you're going to be here for a while. And, you know, God willing and whatever else, right? But, you know, we went through a series of superintendents up until Dr. Jimerson that, you know, were kind of just moving through their career, and that really had negative impact on the district. Now, Jimerson came in about 10 years ago, and I know he's had a couple opportunities to go, but he doesn't because his family's here. He likes the district, all these other things. But having multiple superintendents was detrimental to the district because every new one would have their own ideas and their own, some book they read or some seminar they went to, and they want to reinvent the wheel. And it was very difficult on the staff. Yeah. So, you know, I'm glad they picked somebody that's part of the system and has been for a while because you know the culture, you know the climate, you probably know half the community by name. So it's going to be a real blessing. You've been in superintendent now. This is your third year?
This is going on my my third year.
Okay.
This is my third year as superintendent. Yes.
Well, see, being from the hometown, you know the culture and you know the environment, and that's a blessing, as opposed from being some carpetbagger that came in from the outside.
Right.
You know, it's not like you moved in from Washington or something like that. Oh, right. There he is.
Oh, yeah, Kyle there.
So, hey, if you're going to sit over there, you're going to get some razzing your way, all right? But no, it's a real blessing because teachers need continuity.
I agree, and you know, it takes time. Like you said, with the new superintendent, it takes time to implement changes and you know, and not all change is bad, but it does take time. And like you said, if you keep having that rolling door of superintendents coming in and out, then it's gonna create that hesitation amongst staff. It's going to create the issues start to evolve.
Well, it really hurts teacher buy-in,
Right.
particularly when you have a veteran staff and they've been to the circus before and they know who the clowns are. They would have a new guy come in, or it wasn't just a new superintendent, it'd be a whole new sub-level of leadership. And they'd come in and we're going to do this all over again, like some of us old timers ago, we did this about 10 years ago and it didn't work. Well, you're just saboteurs, and blah, blah, blah. And then it didn't work, and the administrator go, my stars, who can see this coming? That's why I'm glad that Joshua's has stability, because teachers need to have buy-in that this guy is serious and he's here for the long haul. And he's not here to make change for change's sake, for resume building sake, and that's another thing. They want to, he's here for the kids in the district. And that's that you'll find your relationship with the teachers is going to be much, much stronger that way.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, what's happened with Jemerson. I think a lot of teachers have seen that he's going to be around for a while and that he's had chances of leaving, he hasn't. And that, teacher buy-in is just so critical. How do you incorporate teacher in the planning and curriculum and all the other processes? You have to bring the teachers in on that. Top down doesn't work with teachers.
Yeah, top down. You're right. It's important to give them a say. It's important to let them feel that they're heard and get. When it comes to big time decisions, whether it's curriculum or any type of new program, it's important to hear what they're facing on a daily basis and what they see are some challenges and what they see can help to overcome those challenges. And so getting their input is critical, in my opinion.
There was some kind of curriculum design that came in, 2008, 9 or something like that. And in retrospect, it's actually a pretty good idea. Unit by design. I'm sure you're familiar with it. You probably have seen all the paradigms. But because the relationship between the teachers and this central administration was not very strong, it took a lot to really get that thing moving off the ground. And after a while, I said, well, okay, I see this has some value, but we wasted a lot of time,
right?
Because of that lack of communication and that lack of trust. And so that's probably one of your biggest parts of your job is developing trust with staff.
Absolutely.
If they trust you, they'll do about anything you ask. If they don't trust you, it don't matter if you came up with a new solution to educational problems of all time.
Well, it's just like you said. They got to know that you care and that you're there with them and want to make sure that you're hearing what they have to say when it comes to making those decisions.
Well, I feel like what I'm doing over here on this side of the table is giving you fatherly advice about how to be a superintendent, even though I've never been one. I never really wanted to be an administrator. I wanted to be a classroom teacher.
Yeah.
But that didn't mean I wasn't a backseat driver sometimes. I look back on that and I think, how did I keep a job? I'd have fired me. But still. But, it's like, I just look at it from the teacher perspective, and I want Joshua and I want you to be successful. Teachers want to be successful. And if they work in a program, they feel like they're actually have a chance to be successful. They'll walk through hell in a gasoline suit for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's an unknown secret for teachers. And so, because most teachers, the ones that get in for the summers off, so to speak, they last about 3 years.
Yeah,
and then they move on and start selling insurance or something like that. Because, if you hate what you're doing, it doesn't matter if you get Christmas off. You're going to be dreading the January all through the Christmas holiday.
Yeah.
So
the 158 days for our teachers are in.
Oh, I thought it was more than that.
No, now that TEA changed it to the minutes and us going 4 days, so we're reduced down to 158 days.
That's kind of why I was thinking, because 150. I was doing like 187.
No, it used to be 187. Yeah, you had to get that in. Yeah, so
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but one of the things though that we were required to do during the summer, I mean, if we weren't working in summer school or working in school-related things, some of my peers got like temporary jobs, but we were required to continue training. I went to AP training at TCU for years after years, and I also went to the Federal Reserve training because I taught economics as well. So that process of training never ends.
Absolutely right.
This idea that, well, I would say for this, it is really nice to have the same holidays as your kids. You know, the Easter holiday, the Christmas holiday, the Thanksgiving holiday. They're out of school, so was I. So we didn't have to worry about a lot of those things. But other than that, you know, you may not be working as hard in the summer, but you're still going to be working. And any teacher worth their salt is going to be looking to improve their curriculum, you know, over the summer.
Yep.
Use that time to improve this. Okay, this didn't work. This worked better. I thought it would. Blah, blah, blah.
Well, that summer's, you know, that rest, rejuvenation type period, you know, and you're kind of at your own leisure is when you do work, you know, and so that's an added benefit always.
I would usually take the first 2 weeks of June not to do anything school related, and then I would, okay, I don't want to do all this in the last week, you know, right before in-service starts. So I kind of gradually would do stuff throughout the summer, adding materials, seeing if there's anything better, you know, particularly in history.
Right.
Is there a better way to teach this particular aspect than what I'm doing right now? And I got the time to look into various things. So let's pretend I'm a new resident of Joshua, or potentially a new resident. What would you tell this new resident why they should move to Joshua ISD as opposed to maybe some surrounding district?
Well, I think for us, we consider ourselves the destination district of Joshua ISD, or excuse me, of Johnson County.
Yeah.
I said Joshua ISD.
Yeah.
But I think when we say that, it's because of the opportunities that we are looking to provide. You know, we offer up to 16 pathways in career technical education fields that each have an industry-based certification for our students. So it's the academic piece. We're obviously very, very strong. You go back to our UIL academics.
Right. I competed against Joshua and UIL, and they routinely handed us our hats, so to speak.
Was it 8th year in a row that we've won the district championship?
They
and
beat
then
our brains out.
You date it back to 2006. It's been 15 since then. So you know we're going to have good, strong academics. And for us, we've got many different extracurricular fields. We've got our NJROTC, who's just tremendous. You talk about an overall unit, and Lieutenant Colonel Davidson and Master Chief Linville do a fabulous job with that program. I think we sent 2 teams to the Navy, the precision rifle, the Navy Nationals, and they got 2nd and I believe 7th was what they competed in. Then you also go back to another team that they sent to the All Service Nationals and got 4th, and so they have a long history of success and getting kids connected to that program. But fine arts is another thing. We've got a fabulous Spirit of Joshua band. We've got a fabulous choir team. We've got a lot of different avenues kids can be involved, from color guard to dance to just the avenues that kids can be involved in and really excel at. This past year, you know, our I think all of our, with the exception of 1 or 2 athletic programs, all made the postseason.
Right.
So,
well, it used to be Joshua Sports was like a 1-9 season was a cause for celebration.
Right.
You were right there for some of that.
Just the other day in football, you know, we took who was considered to be the second best team in the district. We took them 3 overtimes and got that victory. So
who was it they beat?
Midlothian.
Okay.
So
Darn Midlothian.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of things treading in the right direction. A lot of opportunities for students to be successful, and that's what I would just tell them is that, hey, you're going to have many different opportunities at Joshua ISD to get involved in some type of program or extracurricular activity.
Well, many of us at BHS were connected professionally to Joshua teachers, particularly, you know, we talk about UIL. I was part of that. And then, like I just mentioned, they beat our brains out every year. But also the dual enrollment program. And as I knew a couple of your dual enrollment teachers. And, you know, so that's something that Joshua didn't offer before, but has lately. Did they have dual enrollment when you were a student there?
So they did.
They probably had AP, I would imagine.
They had AP, and I took AP classes. I do recall taking that. Miss Yancey was.
That's who was.
She was one of my AP teachers. You know, what's crazy is when you talk about history, is I had her every year from freshman year up. It seemed like every year I moved up, she moved up.
Well, for my case, I'd have them as juniors, and then for history, and then I taught economics, and then government, and then back to economics. So I get them for at least in one more semester than their senior year, and so I got to know the kids pretty well. And that was the blessing of my experience at BHS. All the other things were great, whatnot. Nothing beats that. That was the best part of my experience at BHS is the relationships I was able to develop with these young people. And I still see them, not just on Facebook, but, in the store, at church, at ball games, whatever. And that's a real blessing. But I remember Miss Yancey, I mean, she was a Hill College adjunct as well. And so we crossed every now and then. I'd see her. And, I mean, we were on a name basis, but we weren't like hanging out or anything like that. But anyway, but see, those kind of programs really, I think a lot of parents aren't aware unless they've already had a kid through the high school.
Right.
But when they're first putting it through high school, say, wait a minute, there's all these opportunities that weren't there when I was a kid.
No, absolutely.
I went to a pretty high rank in high school in my day, Plano Senior High. We didn't offer anything like we do at BISD and Joshua ISD. I'm sure Cleveland would tell you the same thing. Mm-hmm. The different paths, the CTE programs, that game theory school, all this. And I was asking Kyle earlier, Burleson has that early college program. Is that ever on the horizon for y'all?
So right now we have we offer the associates program through Hill College with our students. So we're looking potentially at always adding additional avenues for our students. And so more or less for us, it's kind of that seat space where are we going to put kids that go or get involved in those programs. And so as we're growing, we got to think about those things. Think about as we continue to grow, finding space to offer additional programs.
So you got a lot of other pressures, shall we say, on growth that, just at the elementary level.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's usually where the growth shows up is elementary. Have you been to the early college campus over in Burleson?
I went there once, but I didn't get to really kind of see all of the stuff. I didn't get to take a tour, but
it's interesting because that same building was the high school, right, back in our day.
And it's pretty crazy. And I don't know if you knew this about me, but I actually started my elementary there in Burleson.
Right.
And so I went to that exact campus when I believe it was intermediate.
Yeah, it was 5th and 6th grade.
Yeah, it was 5th and 6th grade. So I attended 5th and 6th grade there, and then we ended up building the house in Joshua and moved to Joshua.
Yeah,
so.
Well, that same early college building, whatever, I taught in that building, not in the early college program, but for Hill. But it was during the day while the other kids when they started, but then we did the library and all that other stuff. And now it's expanded to what it is.
Yeah.
And it really saved a lot of money. To say the least. In a few minutes, we're going to talk about how another way Hill College and Burleson kind of interact with each other. But as far as the CTE program, back in the day, they had print shop and they had metalworking, and that's about it.
That's what I remember back in the day. It wasn't the opportunities weren't what they are now, which now it's more of a focus is how can we prepare these kids, whether it be moving to college, or how can we prepare them to enter the workforce? And that, and I like the shift of that aspect of providing them with them opportunity to go make, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 with a welding certification, you know? And so it's great in the aspect of providing kids that piece.
Well, we're asked as a school system, a public school system, a lot more than just learn them how to read good.
Right.
Which I could use since I misread their email about what time you're supposed to be here, but I should go to Joshua Schools, I guess. But they offer so much more, and somebody that's outside the system, particularly that never had kids, would say, "Why are we offering all this stuff? I mean, isn't that what colleges are for?" And I said, "That's not how it works. That might have worked in the '70s, but it don't work that way now,
right?
Because it's almost like if you're not when you go into college." What was expected of me as a junior in college would be what's expected of these guys as a freshman in college. And some people who are not really attached to the educational process don't understand that.
Right.
So it's a lot more complex world. My math limitations in high school had Algebra 2 and then what we call trig, and that's about it. Now you can get, AP Calculus 2 and all this other stuff, and that kind of thing. We didn't have AP Chemistry or Biology. We just had the regular classes, and that's it.
Yep.
So, and I was going, like I said, I was going to a school that was highly ranked and had a broader based, y'all build the schools, they'll build the road or something like that.
Right in Negan.
And
it's all Joshua ISD.
Oh, boy.
So right next, and it's all Joshua ISD.
Oh boy.
So I would prefer to try to keep it that one horse town. Obviously, everybody loves that aspect, but I can see providing the opportunities that another high school does bring. And I know that's a challenge because I know that the folks here in Burleson didn't take that too lightly.
It was an issue. It was an issue for the residents. It was an issue for the staffs because we joked over at BHS that we were the first wife and Centennial was the trophy wife. And they, because they got all the attention and they had all the newest stuff. Now, when we were going through that process in 2006, our superintendent at that time was adamant that we have a second high school, but there was a lot of us that wanted to copy your system and have a ninth grade campus. Has that worked out well for you all over the years? Yeah,
I think it has. I obviously wasn't in the school district when they implemented that. I think that was back in 2010, 11. I think it was when Laughlin moved from what is that ninth grade campus across from the high school over out there off of 1902 where it currently sits. And so that's, I think that's when it was implemented. I don't know what and how that decision was made, but for us, as far as space, it's been beneficial right now because had they decided to keep the high school where it was and not separate the ninth grade, we would have been out of space years ago.
Well, for us, we had the space that we could do it, but we were told it was academically detrimental. A lot of us didn't buy it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think so at all. Crowley does it. Y'all do it. Duncanville does it. And it's like a lot of schools do it. And they're looking at the same type of science and data that we are. So, but we thought it was, it was a done deal. We were going to have a second full-on high school period.
Yeah.
Did we need one? Well, it was getting pretty crowded. Not just in the classrooms, but the hallways, were really a tight fit. In the cafeterias, we had kids sitting on the steps and stuff like that. So, the time was coming. But we thought we could alleviate that problem with the ninth grade campus, but that's water way under the bridge. We're not going back revisit that. But y'all, you're going to have that decision to make if those two developments.
Absolutely. That's just only two developments we're talking about. There's another development out there as well that's looking about another 1,000. So
good heavens.
It's just a matter of it's a matter of when that's going to happen. It's not if it's going to happen. It's a matter of when because we know that these developments are being approved. It's just like you say, the process with the infrastructure, getting that initial process down and passed with the city before you can start putting homes in the ground.
Well, I could see it now, about 20 years from now, the new Hickerson High School.
No, I don't know about that.
You think so?
No. Hey, we just need to get this elementary built first, man. That's our biggest challenge is we've got a couple campuses that are over capacity. And so by passing that bond, it allows us to alleviate some of the capacity issues at those campuses.
I'm going to bet North Joshua is one of those elementaries.
It absolutely is.
Because there's a lot of Burleson people in it. And it's the first one you encounter when you come into town. And that was always Burleson's strength and challenge. I always thought, and still do, one of the best parts of BSD was its elementary programs. It has some great elementary schools, okay? But that's where the growth shows up because you got families with elementary age kids coming in. But as you well know, bringing a bunch of elementary kids, there's going to be a lot of high school kids, right? As they grow through the system. And we had that problem of overcrowding. I would not be surprised. I have no information, I have no inside knowledge. I'm just eyeballing it from a distance, but I wouldn't be surprised if Burleson builds another elementary within the next couple of years because we're growing too.
Yeah, it seems like everybody's growing, especially, Crowley is one of the fastest growing districts in the state of Texas. That's people don't realize that.
Have you seen that Karis development about a block and a half from here?
Yeah, you got the toll road, which has really impacted their growth over the years now, and obviously it hasn't quite hit us yet, but it is coming with those developments.
A lot of people in Burleson, this is Crowley where we're at now. They forget all that business north of us here. Where the feeds in the North Crowley High School that's along, because when I was working at Southwest Christian starting in the fall of 16, I would take the tollway to it, and it was mostly a country drive. I got on it about 2 weeks ago for the first time in a while. I was astounded how much growth had gone all the way down, not just from the Fort Worth corridor, but all the way down almost to 1187.
Absolutely.
It's astounding. And so it's coming whether we want to or not, So that's the biggest challenge I would imagine for y'all. you know, and, you know, you needed that bond to pass
Yes, sir.
because, you know, people, I think, misunderstand these bonds sometimes. I think you're, you know, basically you're going to be, I don't know, spending money on frivolous things. But no, if you put the bond out, it usually has to be pretty specific what you're going to use it for.
It does.
You know, so it isn't quite that arbitrary how you spend the money.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I knew you needed those schools because they're coming.
Yeah.
And you're not in a position to turn people away if they live in the district, are you?
No, not at
required.
all. I mean, required to take them in, and even if the school is over capacity, and you know, like right now with our campuses that are over capacity, as we're taking them in, we're basing it on registration. Are you getting your registration done in time to where the possibility of they go on a waiting list and have to, not necessarily a waiting list, but the overflow list, and then have to go transfer and be bussed over to another elementary campus that has a little bit more capacity. Would we like to continue to do that? Absolutely not. But it's just the reality of the issues that we're facing.
It kind of happened in Burleson. There was that's why they built a couple of others, like one not that far from where HEB is. I'm trying to remember Clinkscale, and a couple of others like that because the other schools were just getting pushed to their limit. And like you said, you don't have the option to say, well, if you live in the district, you have to go somewhere else to school. Burleson, at least I remember to be recently, an open enrollment school. If you lived in 76028, you can come to Burleson schools. Are you like that?
So we have taken transfers. We've had to limit that number of transfers due to our schools, our elementary campuses, really. We're okay at the high school. We're okay at our secondary campuses, our middle schools. But really the issue lies there with our elementary campuses.
Oh, so it isn't like, he can really carry the football. Not that kind of transfer. Okay, well, I want to talk about a couple of things that are coming up, and then we'll finish off because you probably have a busy day, I'd imagine. Start off with the Next Step one first, Josh, and then we'll talk about BOF. Next Thursday, we have the Next Step Women's Center. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but you may be. It's helps women and their husbands and or partners with childbirth issues. Not medical issues, but financial, how to be a parent. Maybe this was an unexpected pregnancy, and we can help with that. Give you counseling, give you parenting lessons, help you with some. You go through these lessons and you get what they call baby bucks, which don't let them get clothing or new toys or something like that. It's a great program. They do STD testing, they do sonograms, they do pregnancy testing, they do counseling, they do the whole thing. And it's not stereotypically a place for unwed mothers. It's people. I mean, they actually, most of them are unwed, but a lot of them are married, and they're just needing some help in getting this process started. Maybe particularly, and they all think it's for young girls. It's not. They show me the stats, and about a third of their clients are probably older than 28. So it's a great program, and they're going to have a big gala at the DoubleTree Hotel. So be sure to register. Bring your checkbook because there will be an ask, and they're very good at that. After they have their speaker, you want to give them what you can. Next Step Women's Center, be sure to be there for that. Also, this is something that may be of interest to people and Joshua one day, and that is the Burleson Opportunity Fund. I don't know how much you're familiar with that, but basically in Burleson, well, you don't have to be in Burleson ISD, just City of Burleson. So Joshua students are eligible for this as well if they live in Burleson, and there's a bunch like we talked about. But we try to raise money so we provide at least the first year of tuition at Hill College. And as a former Hill teacher, I had numerous Burleson Opportunity Fund students, and that was the best way they were getting to college. It wasn't just, a lot of kids, don't know what they're going to do and what they want to be, and so they don't know if they want to go to college. So this way they can go to college, get some of the basics out of the way, and then they find out what they want to be. And a lot of my BOF students, a lot of them went to Tarleton, or a lot of them went to UTA or North Texas or something like that, but a lot of them also went to the Cleveland Hill campus and became EMTs or HVAC or firefighters, things of that nature. So that's what it's really good for. I don't know if y'all have that kind of program, but it's one of the best things about this community is that they'll pay for that first year. And if we get more funding, we'd like to go past that, but COVID really put us behind. But we have a big breakfast on also next Thursday morning, so you can do both. No conflict. Over at First United Methodist on McAllister. So register, show up. You're going to be well fed. They're going to have some speakers. They're going to have some testimonials and whatnot, and then the shakedown. Well, that's the way these things are. I mean, we're not just entertaining ourselves. We're trying to raise money for these scholarships. I know Cleburne is talking about doing something similar. I know Joshua is, but I can tell you, just as being a member of that board, it takes commitment to get it off the ground and to keep it well funded. All right? Unless you have some sugar daddies willing to throw in that kind of money, but it takes commitment to keep it going. But maybe it's something y'all can consider one day.
Yeah, it seems like a great benefit. That we, like you said, we do have many kids that live in Burleson that are part of Joshua ISD. I mean, my home address is in Burleson.
Do you have any kids in your system?
I do. I've got a first grader, little boy, and then my daughter is a seventh grader at one of the middle schools.
Well, 5 years now, God willing, if the BOF's still around, she'll be eligible.
I know.
And and I God only knows how much a college education is going to be in 5 years or whatever.
There's no telling.
Yeah, and so a lot of people are saying, I want to go to, some big fancy college, but, get 30 hours, 40 hours knocked out saves us quite a bit of money.
Absolutely.
So we're all close on time. I know you have a schedule to keep, so I'll let you finish the show. Tell us in a nutshell what you would want people to know about Joshua. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I forgot. Joshua, thank you for reminding me. Community radio will be putting this show on. This is a radio station I run. It's an online radio station on TuneIn and Live 365, and I'll be putting the show on at 6 o'clock tonight. And I'll be running it probably 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon as well. And in that way, so some of you people who couldn't listen to the show or whatever, they can hear it on the radio if they have TuneIn, or usually on Facebook, it's on the apps. And so, Kyle can probably put the show on y'all's Facebook page if it's acceptable. I don't know. But anyway, so they'll have opportunities to hear this again. But I ask you that question again. In a nutshell, tell us everything you would want somebody to know about Joshua ISD.
I think for me, you're going to find people that truly care, from our teachers to our coaches to our administration. You're going to find that they truly care in the well-being of each child. And, we may not be perfect. We may not have every answer. We're human just like anybody else, but we want every kid in our school district to be successful. We want them to be involved. And I think once people know that and know that we truly care about each individual, that want to be more inclined to be a part of the blue and white.
Well, the old Joshua Owls, yeah. Well, that's a good thing, and I'm glad to see this county as a whole improve their educational prospects over the last 2 or 3 decades. And Joshua certainly has done its share in doing that. And you have a very good district. You have a very strong teaching staff.
Yeah.
And and I've worked, like I said, I've been acquainted with Joshua teachers. I've gone to church with them, all that. And they seem to really find a home there. So it tells me something about the administration.
Yeah, we're certainly proud of our staff. We've got, I consider the best staff in the state of Texas.
Well, that's what you should. We'll be doing more shows like this. Kyle's going to kind of call the shots about who and when, because I know
So Kyle's going to get in on that.
Yeah, well, he's not going to be on the show, but he'll probably be sending me, I'd like to talk to your curriculum director.
Absolutely.
Or your special ed director. That's another one, because that's so important, and things of that nature. Or talk about your security system. I know you have security at your schools.
Yes,
and we just scratched the surface and all that. So, and over the next 6 months, with the exclusion of the end of the semesters, because I know that it's all hands on deck with that. But like during the spring, maybe try to squeeze one more in the fall. He's going to let me know who and when. So
absolutely.
Thank you, Josh, for manning a double duty today. You still got another show to go.
Yep. It's got a long day.
We'll keep you out of the pool hall. And so, all right. And thank you, Kyle, for sitting over there and doing nothing. And thank you, Mr. Hickerson, for what you're doing and for giving us the time.
Well, I appreciate you having us on.
No problem. Next Monday, we have Melissa Miller with the Chamber of Commerce. And then on Tuesday, we're going to have a couple of representatives from a show that's an annual show called The Promise. It's well known about this time of year. So we'll be seeing you all then. So take care.